One of the most memorable moments I have ever had playing a video game was the first time I played Fallout 3. And it wasn't the moment that most people think when you come out of the vault and you see the world and you're like, oh my god, no, not that at all. It was a little bit after that, as I was starting to explore the world and I made my way to the Super Duper Mart. This was a location that was on the map. I discovered it, and when I went in, this happened.
Security.
As I come out of the back room of the Super Duper Mart, over the intercom, I hear something ain't right here as a group of raider returns to the Super Duper Mart, reacting to what I'm doing in the world. It was shocking. I was like, what did I do to make this happen? Did I do something wrong? But really, it was just maybe the first time I ever played a game where it seemed like the environment was truly reacting to what I was doing. And this is something that I haven't felt in many RPGs as of late. A lot of the worlds in RPGs lately feel lifeless, unrealistic, and just don't feel there, kind of flat, if you will. However, one game that did not have that with me is a new game by Rebellion Games called Atomfall. Now, if you don't know who Rebellion are, they are the people behind Sniper Elite, which I consider the popcorn game of first-person shooters. You go in, you play through a fun campaign, you blow some people's heads off, and that's kind of the end of it. So I wasn't expecting what Atomfall gave me at all. In fact, I kind of got the complete opposite opinion of the game that I thought I was going to get. I thought this was going to be a fun, popcorn, kind of Fallout-like game, when in reality, it was nothing like Fallout whatsoever. In fact, nothing like any RPG I've played as of late. What it did fantastic was environmental storytelling and creating a mystery where I just wanted to learn more. But at the same time, there were also some problems. So without further ado, this is my review of Atomfall.
You require the operator.
Atomfall starts out like a lot of mysteries or a lot of hangovers, waking up in a random place with a guy running into your room who's bleeding everywhere. However, this time you appear to be in a bunker and the guy is in a hazmat suit. You immediately start asking questions. Who is this person? Who are you? Where are you? And what is going on? These questions only get more complex as you enter the outside world and you immediately see this glowing background and a phone booth. A phone booth that you pick up and only leads to more questions.
Oberon must die. Oberon must die.
And just like that, you are absolutely lost. However, you do know a couple of things. First of all, you have a notebook that tells you you need to go to somewhere called the Interchange, as well as something to do with something by the name of Oberon. Other than that, you pretty much have nothing. You see, this game has no map markers unless you place them there. It has no waypoints. It doesn't automatically tell you where to go. It just gives you an environment and lets you go. At first, I hated this, but as you start to explore, you start to discover landmarks, like a downed helicopter, and inside there, as you look around, you find a dead soldier. And on that soldier, you find a key and a coded message. Some of these messages just give you generalized clues as to which part of the map to look on, whereas others give you complete directions, including coordinates, which tell you exactly where to go on the map. Hidden there will be something that will help you along your way. It could be something small like a crafting recipe, or it could be something big like that next item you need to progress the story. Speaking of which, the story at its core is very, very simple. You're trying to figure out a mystery, and eventually when you get to that interchange, you find out that you need batteries. However, as you run into more and more people, the mystery just seems to get bigger and bigger. And like a game like Fallout New Vegas, there are things like factions. There are the druids or the people of the forest. There are the soldiers or the army. There are the townsfolk. There are doctors. There are scientists. And it's pretty straightforward that each group of people that you meet has their own motives. And yes, this game does have multiple endings. Again, another thing that I love and adds to the mystery. Now we'll come back to that mystery because not everything is good with this game. And I think the worst part of this game is kind of the gameplay, oddly. I don't think there's anything special about the gunfights or the combat in this game. I don't think there's anything special about the crafting, survival elements, or anything along those lines. As far as the survival goes, it's pretty straightforward. You wander around the map. As you do, you can go pick up various different items like a glass or some scrap metal or some gun parts and end up crafting things together to improve your character and get better at, well, survival. As far as combat goes, there's a very limited amount of weapons, pretty much assault rifle, SMG, shotgun, bow and arrow, which is by far the most fun to use. And then if you shoot someone in the head, they're dead. And if you hit elsewhere, it might take many more bullets to kill. And that is the same for almost all enemies. There's pretty much soldiers, druids, some sort of zombie things, and then robots. Robots are the ones that are vastly different, and the combat with those is incredibly different. Now, the worst part about the game is at these random times, there will be these like swarms of rats, bees, crows, other things. They're by far the most annoying to deal with because, one, you don't have that many bullets and you just kind of have to swing in the air to try to get them to stop. By far the most annoying thing about the game. But here's the thing, like the combat isn't bad. It's not horrible gameplay. The survival elements aren't bad. They're decent. The problem is it takes away from the best part of it, which is the exploration, the storytelling, and the mystery. Now, at this point, I have beat the game, and I still have questions, but a lot of them did get answered. With there being multiple endings, it adds replayability, but that mystery is what keeps you moving forward in this game. You just want to keep playing more because you want to know what's going on, and I questioned myself whether or not I wanted to add spoilers into this review, and I think I've decided against it, but I am going to say one thing. It's a minor spoiler, and you figure it out pretty early on. This is an example of one of the characters that you're going to run into in the game.
Well, hello! A new face! Don't mind me. Everybody knows Mother J go around here. I mean no harm.
We'll call this character Mother, and basically Mother is immediately welcoming, immediately helps you out, and it turns out very quickly, probably within the next 30 minutes, you essentially find out that this character is evil. Now, there's many interesting things about this. Number one, I think technically you never have to meet this character through the entire game, but it is heavily pushed on you that you do. You find notes about her, other people mention her. It is next to impossible not to, but that's kind of the way the whole game works. You don't have to do anything or have to meet any of these people, really, aside from a couple, but it makes your life a whole lot easier. You discover a whole lot more, and based off of the notes, it pushes you in general directions. And it does so in many different ways. The way the levels are designed, the way the maps are designed, the several different areas that you go to, and then the notes just push you in that direction. Now, as I mentioned, I originally didn't think that I liked finding the notes, looking up the notes, reading all of the notes, because in a lot of previous games that I've played, there was so much reading, there's so much lore, there's so much all of this, but generally speaking, it's like a 1 or 2 paragraph note that you find, and it's all important information to do with the gameplay. And yes, there are still small cutscenes to do with characters and to build the story out, but as a whole, the narrative is mostly pushed forward by what you find in your environment, what's going on around you, and what you do next. You are painting your own story, and I guarantee you, even though I know a lot about this game, if I was to play it again, it's almost impossible for me to play the game in the exact same way that I already did, because that story is pushed so heavily through exploration and not just a narrative that Rebellion has made for you. Now, here's where I struggle to make a decision about this, because the story is incredible, and I love the way that you have to kind of be a detective and discover your own way through the game. Even though I don't think that will be everyone, you can definitely still play the game if it's not for you. In fact, the difficulty selector of this game isn't just how difficult the enemies are to kill. It can be what type of exploration you want, whether you want map markers or not, or the exact way that you want to play the game. And personally for me, I think I chose perfectly just with the default, and it played really well. But if you don't want to get in fights whatsoever, that's an option that you can have. If you don't want the exploration and you just want the fights, that's an option that you can have as well, which I think is pretty cool that they did that. But my question is if you get rid of the combat in this game, it's pretty much just as good of a game. And I think if they would have went a little bit heavier on the puzzle aspect things instead of just combat and fighting, it would have worked, but I think there needed to be a little bit more of a balance, because there were certain areas where there were enemies you couldn't kill and it was scary and spooky. And that is actually one thing that they did really well. Right at the beginning of the game, where you first run into raiders, you quickly realize you have to listen well, and you can hear them whistling underneath you, around you, and it just adds a little bit of a spook factor. So I still think that there should be combat in this game. I think just if they leaned heavier on the puzzles and even harder on the exploration, instead of this just being a good game, it could have been absolutely incredible. Now, this game works for a few reasons, and all of it comes back to essentially three things: exploration, intrigue, and then just the way the game works as a whole. As you work through an individual mission, you'll eventually find other clues, if you want to call it that, but most of them are just notes, and these notes will tie you into other missions. You don't need to go in every single building to find out about every single mission, because almost everything in this game is intertwined. All of the endings that you will find in this game are all intertwined in one way or another, but working with different factions and different characters. And all of this is pushed forward by the map itself, which is that exploration factor. This is one of those games where you'll go to a new area and you'll see something, whether that be a downed helicopter like we talked about before, whether that be a big building off in the distance, or whether it just be like a strange clearing that doesn't quite fit there. You'll find something and you'll want to be like, what is going on with this? Because that intrigue was put in you from the very beginning. You, first of all, don't know who you are. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what is going on here. And all the while you are trying to figure out each and every aspect of that as you push through this interesting narrative.
You have done well. You have installed a battery. The interchange starts to live again. Search and you will find more batteries. Install more batteries.
The narrative of this story is completely based off of trust. Can you trust that voice that you heard in the phone booth? Can you trust Mother? Can you trust any of these characters that you truly meet? And by the end of this game, they even having you question whether or not you can trust yourself. That is the key to this game. That is the key to making any of this make any sense. That is something they do so incredibly well in this game that it just made me want to keep playing more. So I really am struggling to fully rate this game, because gameplay wise and like game mechanics wise, it's like a 6 out of 10. It's nothing special whatsoever. But narratively and exploration and the way you question yourself and the mystery and intrigue and all of it throughout this game is like a 9.5. And honestly, when I look at the two most recent games that I played, Assassin's Creed Shadows and this game, which is Atomfall, they're completely opposite. One of them has this amazing narrative, being Atomfall, and lackluster gameplay. Then there's Assassin's Creed that has a lackluster story and great gameplay. It's like neither of them could fully get it right. Now, personally, just the type of person that I am, I like the story of the game, so that leaves me liking Atomfall a little bit more. And if I'm rating it on a scale of 1 to 10, I probably give this one like a 7.8 out of 10. Just for a perspective, I would probably give Assassin's Creed Shadows like a 6.8 or a 7 out of 10, somewhere around there. But if you are a person like me who loves story, loves storytelling, and likes getting lost in a narrative and maybe another world where you just want to figure out what's going on, Atomfall is 100% a game for you. But just don't expect anything crazy when it comes to combat or anything along those lines. But yeah, I think you should definitely go check this one out.
Well, well, well. Just look what the cat dragged in. Pay attention.
Oberon must die.